Good morning. This is the voting meeting before the licensing board for the city of Boston. Today is Thursday, October 6th, 2022. While the public is encouraged to attend, there will be no additional public testimony accepted today. Beginning with the license premise inspection hearing, which occurred on Tuesday, October 4th, 2022. Item number one, the Next Place LLC doing business as The Greatest Bar, located at 262 to 266 Friend Street. Date of the incident, May 15th, 2022. Assault and battery, patron on staff in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Chapter 265, Section 13A.
I think it was difficult to determine who started the fight. So I see no violation.
I didn't see one either. It wasn't enough.
I agree.
Item number two, Boston Ballroom Corporation doing business as Royale, located at 279 Tremont Street. Date of the incident, May 22nd, 2022. Assault and battery, employee on patron, occurred outside in front of the establishment in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Chapter 265, Section 13A.
Management joined the hearing of the day to testify that they terminated this employee right away. He had no history of previous incidents like this. And at the time this occurred, it was reasonable to believe he was there because he was still clearing out the crowd. I see no violation.
Yeah, it didn't seem foreseeable. I agree.
I agree.
Item number three, Tremont 958 Restaurant Corporation, located at 958 Tremont Street in Roxbury. Date of the incident was March 13th, 2022. Patron on patron assault with a firearm in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, Chapter 265, Section 15A, and an affray in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64.
Thanks, Danny. Well, they weren't written up for overcrowding. The testimony was that they were overcrowded based upon the crowds that were dispersing and exiting. They weren't written up for staff having a firearm, but they testified that a staff had a firearm. The management was helpful to police, but all of these things together added to the tense situation. And I believe management could have mitigated this if they had not been overcrowded, if they had not had security with armed security. So all these things together, I think, contributed to the affray in violation of Chapter 138, Section 64, and I find a violation.
Yeah, I agree.
Commissioner Kern.
So, and are you voting no, no violation on the firearm?
No violation on the firearm. It was difficult to determine whether or not they should have known that this patron had a firearm.
Yeah, I want to be clear because I
Yeah.
felt that way. I couldn't, focus on any one thing that might have contributed to that. But the presumed overcrowding did not help in the affray. So I can agree with that.
And they actually don't have a history of this type of violation. So my vote would be for a written warning.
I agree.
Yeah, that's reasonable.
Okay, so the vote is for no violation on the patron on patron assault and a violation for the affray with a written warning.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Item number four, GSTH Investment Group LLC doing business as Bijou and Rock and Rye, located at 51 Stewart Street. Date of the incident, March 27th, 2022. Patron on patron assault and battery in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Chapter 265, Section 13A, and failure to notify police in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Board's Rule 1.14B.
For the patron on patron assault and battery, I see no violation. For failure to notify police, I see a violation.
I didn't see a violation for either one of them because it seemed like from their perspective, and it was somewhat credible that it didn't seem like an incident that begetted calling the police.
Okay.
So I had no violation on both of them. There wasn't enough there. And if it wasn't such a violent situation, then maybe the police shouldn't have been called under those circumstances. So I was just kind of 50-50 on on the facts.
Okay,
So I didn't quite get there.
I agree with Kathleen. I think when in doubt, just call the police.
okay. So Danny, that would be no violation for patron on patron, and then
Correct.
failing to notify the police violation 2-1
Mhm.
with a written, my vote is for a written warning.
That's fine.
Okay, and Commissioner Curran, you vote for no violation on both.
Yeah, I just didn't. Yeah, the way it went down, I didn't think it necessarily. I mean, I see how you could see it if you thought that it was as violent as it was alleged to be, but I didn't think I was quite there, so I had no on both of them.
Thank you. So the vote is, as Chairman Joyce mentioned, no violation on the first count and a violation on a 2-1 vote for a written warning on the failure to notify police.
Yes.
Item number 5, Concord Entertainment, Inc., doing business as Bill's Bar, the Lansdowne Pub, located at 9 Lansdowne Street. Date of the incident, March 18th and 19th, 2022. Patron on staff assault in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Chapter 265, Section 13A.
I wasn't here.
Yeah, I didn't think we had enough on this one, so I had no violation.
I agree.
Item number 6, Big Night Venues Boston 4 LLC, doing business as Scorpion Bar and Restaurant The Grand, located at 25 Northern Ave. Date of the incident, May 29th, 2022. Assault and battery, patron on patron, in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Chapter 265, Section 13A.
I couldn't find a violation. It seemed like a melee broke out in between the courtyard between the two licensed premises, and they couldn't find a suspect. So I couldn't find a violation.
I agree.
Felt the same way.
Item 7, Game On Fenway LLC, doing business as Game On Sports Cafe, located at 72 to 82 Lansdowne Street. Date of the incident was May 1st, 2022. Assault by means of a dangerous weapon, a gun, in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Chapter 265, Section 15A, and disorderly conduct in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64. And Chairman Joyce was not present for this one.
For which one?
For number 7.
Oh, yeah, I wasn't here.
The May 2nd one, correct? I just want to make sure.
Yes, correct. This is, item 7. This is the first one of theirs.
Yeah. Just making sure, because it was 2 of them. I just want to make sure I'm not conflating the facts of the 2.
This is the one where he was by the door and was we actually never saw him in the establishment. There was no testimony about him being inside the establishment?
Yeah, there were reports of it happening inside the establishment, but we couldn't. There was no. We didn't get that far. There was no evidence that he was inside, because it was the first allegations were that someone was inside with a firearm and cocked it, and I was concerned about that. But ultimately, I don't think we had real good evidence on that. There was.
Right.
Then we have the video that was from the Boston Red Sox that would have shown him running away and tripping and falling,
Mhm.
but that didn't really reflect on whether or not he was inside with it. I think for everything we presented, we didn't quite have enough.
Yeah, I wasn't there either.
Okay. So no violation on this one.
Yeah, I can come to a violent.
Item number 8, Game On Fenway LLC, doing business as Game On Sports Cafe, located at 72 to 82 Lansdowne Street. This one was on June 23rd, 2022. Assault and battery, patron on patron in front of premise, in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Chapter 265, Section 13A, and assault by means of a handgun, patron on patron in front of premise, in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Chapter 265, Section 15A.
Now, is this the one where he said, I have to go back and get it, or
This was that one.
Yeah. This was there was a fight. He proclaimed he was coming back, maybe with a firearm. I wasn't quite sure exactly what he stated, but it seemed like it was understood that he was coming back with a firearm, I think. And then he proceeded to commit a drive-by where someone was hiding behind a mailbox.
Right.
And Chairman Joyce, you were here for this one.
Yeah, I thought staff did all they could to try to prevent it being escalated any further.
Yeah,
I didn't see anything wrong on the part of the premises.
I agree.
So the vote is no violation on number 8 as well.
Yes.
Item number 9, Inshallah Inc. doing business as Crave located at 128 Brighton Ave in Alston. Date of the incident was July 17th, 2022. Premise conducting bottle service in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64. Overcrowding, 294 mechanical count, capacity 162 in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Boards Rule 1.03J and 1.06A and F. And assault and battery patron on patron in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Chapter 265, Section 13A.
I see a violation for the bottle service. I see a violation for the overcrowding. I see a violation for the assault and battery patron on patron. I think this license premise is out of control due to management not following any rules or regulations.
I agree on all counts.
All natural consequences of mismanagement. Yes.
So they have no history of these particular things on the alcohol side, but taken together, my vote is for a 1-day suspension.
I think that's appropriate.
Sounds reasonable.
Violation on all 3 counts with a 1-day suspension. 1-day suspension, that's not on each, that's a 1-day suspension in totality.
Yes, Danny, I would also like the manager of record to confirm for us that she has reviewed the rules and regulations of our board. And if she has any questions, it's her responsibility to reach out to us for clarification.
Great. And ask the manager of record to confirm in writing that she has read and reviewed our rules and regulations. Thank you. Item number 10, Arguedas Corporation located at 30 Bennington Street in East Boston, date of the incident July 30th, 2022. Premise providing bottle service without licensing board approval, a carafe of aguardiente in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64.
They didn't show up. That's correct, right, Danny?
That's correct.
So I'm going to move forward with this. They were notified. They, based upon the reading of the incident by the police into the record, I see a violation.
I agree.
They are also aware of the fact that they could not have bottle service, as Commissioner Curran said at the hearing. My vote would be a written warning.
Okay, violation with a written warning. And item number 11, Aya Pizza LLC doing business as Red Line Pizza located at 580 to 582 Dorchester Ave in South Boston. Date of the incident was July 30th, 2022. Patrons on premise at 12:15 a.m. with an 11:30 p.m. posted closing in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 140, Section 9.
This is the second time this licensee has been between us. They also did not show up at the hearing on Tuesday. My vote would be for a violation.
Yes.
And for a second written warning.
Yeah, that sounds reasonable.
They are in the process of, I believe, applying to amend that, but I don't think the application is complete.
Violation with a second written warning. Okay, there was no transactional hearing held yesterday, so we'll move on to non-hearing transactions. Following are applying for a new common victular license at a previously licensed location. Item number 1, Greek Kitchen 6 LLC doing business as Saloniki Greek located at 316 Newbury Street. Iraklis Papachristos, manager of record, hours of operation 11 a.m. to 9 p.m.
I vote to approve.
I agree.
I agree as well.
Item number 2, Hello Yummy LLC doing business as Hello Yummy located at 1 Brighton Ave, Unit 4, also known as 1095 Commonwealth Ave. This is within a food court. Manager of record, Kui Sun, hours of operation 9 a.m. to 9 p.m.
I vote to approve.
I agree.
I agree as well.
And the following has applied to make changes to their existing pool table license. Braymore Lounge Inc. doing business as Cornwalls located at 642 to 648 Beacon Street has requested 1 additional pool table from 1 to 2.
I vote to approve.
I agree.
I agree as well.
And the following is applied for a special one-day amendment to their existing license. The Catered Affair Inc., doing business as the Catered Affair at Boston Public Library at 700 Boylston Street, has applied for an amendment to their existing license for their hours to include a wedding reception on October 29th from 7 p.m. to 2 a.m.
I vote to approve.
I agree.
I agree as well.
The board has before them a list of applications for special one-day alcohol licenses, which have been administratively reviewed by staff and approved by the board.
Okay.
And on old and new business, we have 2 items for acknowledgement and 2 to vote on. Item number 1 for acknowledgement, the board is in receipt of a release of pledge of license and security interest from Salem 5 Cent Savings Bank, releasing previous pledges held on south of Hicksbridge LLC, located at 50 Lovejoy Wharf.
I vote to acknowledge it, I guess. That's what we do.
Sure, no vote needed.
All right.
And then item number 2, this is an alteration of premise that was improperly advertised when the board approved it at last week's transactional agenda. It has since been properly advertised and noticed to include the correct alteration of premise, including the private dining room in the basement and 1 additional guest room. This is Minot Hospitality Group LLC, doing business as Minot Hospitality Group at 25 to 29 Charles Street.
Okay.
Item number 3 for a vote, the board deferred the disposition of this violation to review requested video evidence. GSTH Investment Group LLC, doing business as Bijou and Rock and Rye, located at 51 Stewart Street. The date of the incident was May 7th, 2022. This was an assault and battery employee on patron in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Chapter 265, Section 13A.
I did review the video. I couldn't see anything that happened actually on the dance floor, but I was able to see in the vestibule area.
Oops, sorry, that's the next one.
Oh, sorry about that.
My bad. This was the one with the fight outside. The question was to whether or not it was.
Oh, this was the one, yeah.
Mhm.
I did review that video as well. And it appeared to me that security actually tried to break up the fight. They immediately went over to the victim and tried to pull the person off of him, and I didn't see any violation.
I agree.
I agree.
And finally, item number 4 for a vote, the board deferred disposition of this violation as well to review video evidence. Big Night Venues Boston 4 LLC, doing business as Scorpion Bar and Restaurant The Grand at 25 Northern Ave. Date of this incident was May 7th, 2022. Assault and battery, employee on patron in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Chapter 265, Section 13A.
Okay, so pick up where I left off. In the vestibule area, security did try to de-escalate for several minutes, I would guess, and you did see the victim and his friend walking out on their own. So I didn't see any violation.
I agree.
I threw the video up on a big screen, and I felt like I got a better sense of it on the dance floor. And especially when I downloaded the whole file, I think the clarity came in a lot better. There's definitely a lot of, like, you know, 2 sides to the story, and you can't see everything, but I did see a violation on a minute fact that I saw, which was leading up to it. I think that there was some jostling for space or anything, but I didn't think that Mr. Jajawi was, for me, looking at the video, he did not seem threatening in any real way. I mean, he probably was being, you know, obstructive to them, and they probably weren't having a great time with him. But what happened next was he was taken to the ground with a neck hold. I did not think that was necessitated from what I saw. And they also didn't testify that he had threatened them in any way. And I think to take him to the ground like that immediately with a neck hold, without an allegation that he had basically threatened them or physically hurt them, which I also didn't see. I thought that was somewhat over the line. I think that the staff, after the scuffling, got themselves kind of composed very quickly, and they were trying to de-escalate after that. But I think that some of this could have been avoided if they hadn't kind of been that aggressive at the outset. So for that,
You said you could determine when you had put it on the larger screen that it was security that
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Chokehold.
Definitely security, because you could trace the guy that did the neck hold all the way out. I'm sorry. There was also, I saw a little bit else too that kind of led me to believe that Mr. Djawi was pretty more credible, because like, little facts, they were trying to say that he wasn't carried out by his arms and feet, and that obviously didn't happen. But he also did seem kind of out of it. I don't know if he was knocked in the head on the ground or if he had too much to drink, but he definitely seemed unsteady on his feet. So I can kind of discount that kind of discrepancy in his description. But one thing I did see was the employee who had the dreadlocks, who had his hair tied to the back and the bandana. He definitely kind of, like, at one point during the scuffle, shook his leg down towards the ground. Now, I'm not saying he kicked anyone. It actually could have been him trying to release his leg from someone on the ground, grasping at people in that kind of chaos. But it just made me see the details in Mr. Djawi's story, that he might have been kicked on the ground, be more credible. Like, you're looking for any little bits that kind of match up with what people said. And I'm not making a finding that I feel that there were kicks thrown, because you can't get that far. But there was definitely legs around Mr. Djawi, and that's really the problem with that, is because he was brought to the ground. And if he wasn't brought to the ground, none of that chaos might have happened. So
Okay.
just that trigger, I found the violation, and the trigger of grabbing him by the neck from the back and taking him to the ground did not seem to match with the level of threat that might have been at that moment. And everything else that happened, I couldn't see enough to say that anyone did anything really wrong. And then I do agree with you that after the fact, that after they started to move them out, that there did seem to be a good amount of, like, kind of ratcheting it back down, cooling the temperatures, trying to even it out. And so I saw all that, and I agree with that, and I, on some level, commend that. But just that one moment, I think, kind of brought it over to level of violation.
Thank you for putting it on the big screen.
And connecting the dots for us, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So it sounds like Commissioner Curran, your vote is for a violation. You found a violation here?
I did on the kind of the hold and the bringing him to the ground.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a lot of details I want to be clear about. I'm not faulting them on, like, everything that happened, but I think that kind of just gets over the line. And I'm not saying, I don't even find it severely egregious, because it was clear that they were dealing with problematic patrons as well. I do credit that as well, but I think that they just kind of maybe lost their cool, or just went too hard at a situation that didn't require that hard of a response.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I appreciate the analysis, and I agree with Commissioner Curran's take on this. And should they had not, that pivotal point inside the bar on the dance floor led to the rest of the incident, and if they hadn't done that, we wouldn't have had the rest of this. I'll defer to Commissioner Curran's explanation.
Well, I think ultimately they would have had to remove them. I think they made the decision to remove them, and that probably wouldn't have went, super smooth, but it probably could have been smoother.
Okay.
So maybe this is a good place for, like, something in writing, just to explain, where the pinpoint violations were, where they could have done a better job.
Yeah, I do want to be clear on, because there was a lot alleged.
Mhm.
I'm not finding that everything alleged happened, but just on this one moment. So I do feel, I agree with Commissioner Saxon that maybe we want to just pinpoint where we saw it. Because I really don't feel like it was egregious. I think that there were good parts of the interaction, and that bad part. So I'm not trying to say that they're, like, hugely at fault here, but I think that there is a mistake here, and I want them to see it, and just hear that's what we saw, maybe.
So
Okay, so I'm going to defer to Commissioner Curran to lay out the vote.
So I'm finding a violation because ultimately the violation was written up as assault and battery
Correct.
employee on patron. And I think we should make a note that it was due to the overreaction or overly aggressive action in taking the victim to the ground.
I agree.
I
So
agree as well.
I guess clarifying question, would you like that that note from the board pinpointing where the violation was? Is that in a warning? Is that just in a correspondence from the board? How, what is the vote to kind of dispose of this violation?
Well, what is their history?
I think the vote would be a warning. I looked at I did check out the history. I don't think we have anything.
No, there really isn't.
So I think I would vote for a warning, and just that warning would kind of focus on that particular moment.
So just to clarify with Chairman Joyce and Commissioner Saxon as well. So the vote I'm hearing is a violation with a written warning, which will pinpoint in that written warning the moment that the board is issuing the violation based on.
Right. Should we ask for any like clarification or written policies and procedures of their, crowd management?
I think we have it on file, but we could just double check, and if not, ask them to submit something if it's updated.
Also by removing patrons, the policies on removing patrons and how.
Great. Yeah, we'll check if we have one on file, and if not, request an updated security plan with a focus on how they remove problem patrons.
Thank you.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you. We got there. Those are all of the items before the board today. That will adjourn today's voting hearing. Thank you, everybody.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks.